The new study, called Reefs at Risk Revisited, is an update of a report first issued in 1998. It makes use of newly available data and higher resolution satellite mapping technology. And for the first time, it considers the impact of climate change along with other factors on these fragile marine organisms. Its somber assessment: if the international community does not do anything now to save the coral reefs and their rich ecosystems, more than 90% of the world's reefs will be threatened by 2030, and nearly all of them could be at risk in less than 40 years.
Approximately 75% of the world's coral reefs are currently threatened by a combination of local and global pressures.
Jane Lubchenco is administrator of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA.
If the current trend persists, the projections in this report tell us that 20 years from now, roughly half of the reefs globally will experience thermal stress sufficient to induce severe bleaching in most years. Within the next 50 years, this percentage is expected to grow more than 95%.
And according to Nancy Knowlton of the Smithsonian Institution, this could have a major impact on sea life.
It's been estimated that at least one quarter, maybe as much as 1/3 of all species that live in the ocean live associated with coral reefs. So perhaps it's not too surprising that even more recently an analysis was done that suggests that 1/3 of all coral species are actually at risk of extinction. This makes corals the most endangered animal on the planet, even more endangered than frogs.
Coral reefs are essential for coastal protection and for the food security and economic well-being of millions of people around the world. They are an important source of protein, a potential source of pharmaceuticals, and, as Loretta Burke of the World Resources Institute points out, a valuable tourist attraction.
Tourism is an important economic contributor in over 95 countries and territories around the world. It contributes over 20% of GDP in over 20 countries.
Burke was one of the lead authors of the study. She says it found 275 million people are dependent on the resources from coral reefs, mostly in Southeast Asia and the Indian Ocean. The study includes detailed data on the most serious global threats to the oceans, among them overfishing, climate change, and higher acidity levels caused by carbon dioxide emissions. Other threats, especially at the local level, include the use of explosives for fishing, as well as the runoff of sediments, excess nutrients, toxic materials, and other pollution.
Overfishing is the most widespread threat, affecting about 55% of the world's reefs. The threat is particularly high in Southeast Asia. Watershed-based pollution and coastal development affect roughly a quarter of the world's reefs.
Burke said while the reefs around Australia are the best preserved, those in Southeast Asia are the most threatened, with 90% of them at risk, largely because of overfishing. The study's authors say they hope the report communicates what is at stake. The coral reefs are critically important, and that better management practices and policies must be implemented to reduce the threats to these valuable ecosystems. This is Zulima Palacio, VOA News, Washington.